welcome from anywhere you're joining from all over the world. Thank you so much for joining the African Marketing and Communication Learning Series today. Thank you so much. We are very glad to have you today. The topic we're going to be focusing on today is the power of media visibility. And what we're going to be teaching you is how to have social media footprint. How do you gain media footprint for your brand, right? How do you put your brand out there? Who knows your brand? You know, what are people talking? What are people saying about your brand? Those are some of the things you'll be learning here today. And I'd like to quickly, of course, introduce our amazing speakers without wasting any more time. But before then, please introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your organization, where in the world you're connecting from, one word to describe how you feel about marketing or media. We very much would love to, know where you're connecting from, your name, your organization. And I would also love to implore us to kindly please put our camera on.
And then you're able to
put the camera on. We want to see your beautiful faces. Thank you. Kindly mute yourself, please, while we're trying to admit other people into the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. And on the screen today, you would see some of our agenda for today, your guides for today. My humble self, Esther Ijawere, representing Women of Rubies. We have Toby Gusi from Girl Up Africa, and the amazing Wando Ajane from the Catalyst 2030 team. And of course, on the count of gender equality, we have Olaniyan Olushola from Wikimedia Nigeria. These are your amazing speakers for today. Once again, please mute your mic while the session is going on. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. We can see the chat room is bumping up. Yes, with the introductions, please keep it on, keep it on. We want to know where you're chatting from. We want to know more about you and why you joined the session today. Of course, it's okay to let us know what you hope to learn from the session today. Once again, please mute your mic while the session is going on. Thank you, everyone. All right, next slide, please. Right, today I will be speaking on the importance of storytelling to PR. And that's because it's a topic that is very personal to me, a topic that has also guided me in my journey as a social entrepreneur and, of course, a women's advocate. I know the importance of not just telling my own story for PR, but also telling the stories of other women whom have been privileged to, of course, host and share their stories on my platform. Storytelling is a powerful way to communicate with your target audience. Organizations use it as a means of communication that aims to create positive perception of the brand. The story you share about your brand should be aimed at your target audience and appeal to those who make up this audience. What role does storytelling play in public relations? Right. Before we go on, please share your name, your organization, where you're reaching out from, and where you're joining us from. We really would love to hear from you. All right. So there are some of the reasons why, the roles storytelling play in PR. One is drawing your audience into your brand narrative. Now, this is something that is very personal to me. I am a storyteller when it comes to putting my brand out there. I will tell you when I created my organization, why I created my organization. And of course, number two is to build your brand voice and create positive perception. An organization with a proper storytelling approach, is one that is relatable. People would believe you. People want to identify with that brand. So take, for example, perhaps you started your organization because you saw a young boy who was hungry and then you started something on Say No to Hunger, right? Every time you want to share that story, or every time you get the opportunity to share that story, what you're doing, build a brand voice to give yourself an identity, to give your brand an identity. And that's what we should all do. Number 3, make your content exciting and easily digestible. Of course, anyone can relate to, when you hear stories about Coca-Cola or any other big brand out there, right? It's relatable. It's easily digestible, right? When you hear the stories of Steve Jobs, for example, those are, some of the stories that folks really want to hear, stories that people really want to, go all out there to get more info on. So why can't we all make our brands like that? Why can't we make people Google the names of our brands and organizations? Lastly, influences change in thought behavior. Now, every story you read or hear about an organization, it's going to create a paradigm shift in you as a person, at least to me personally. When I Google a brand, for example, and I want to know more about them, right? 3 things I look out for in the organization. What's the story behind it? 2, who are the people behind it? 3, what message are they trying to project in the world, right? Who are they trying to reach out to? And that sort of like influences my own change, and it's also informed my reason, to either stick with the brand or know more about the brand. And that is what we should all do. Make your brand notable, make your brand, an identity people want to relate with. Make it something that when the name comes to mind, you create a top of mind awareness for your brand. And of course, that's my short introduction on my own topic today. Please, next slide. Right, so we would have a breakout session where folks would have the opportunity, to share your story, 1 minute each for each person. And then, of course, would have another person to present, the stories that they've heard from someone else and how that, of course, impacted them, and throw the discussion open for every other person. So please look out for that. Thank you so much, Arlene, please. And of course, we'll be reflecting on how to share your story about the organization to others. You'd have the opportunity to share in a small group and tell your story. That's 60 seconds each for each person. And someone would have to report back. I know this is a part a lot of people do not like, but I'm going to have to put someone on the spotlight today to, of course, share and report back to the session and let us know what you've learned and what storytelling approach you would be deploying for your organization. Thank you. Please, next slide. Yes. And I'll hand the mic over to the next speaker, and that's Wando, I believe.
Well, we're going to go ahead and go in breakout rooms, so all of you can go ahead and pitch your, we want everyone to meet each other. So pitch your story in 60 seconds and share with one another.
Okay. So Debbie, are we supposed to have someone from the breakout session to share the story now?
Yeah, we have time if one person wants to share their organization's 45-second pitch on your organization.
All right.
And your story. It's a challenge.
All right. I spoke with Elizabeth, who was part of the breakout session. She joined in from Germany. Elizabeth, if you're here, do you mind? She said she doesn't mind sharing. Yes, okay. Please, Elizabeth, kindly share your story very quickly with us.
Okay, thank you, Esther. I was just saying that the original story behind my story was that I was obsessed by the question is why art is not as popular than music. And I realized that in music, when you go out of the concert hall, we had radio, and from radio we had record labels, and then from record labels we had today streaming platforms. And that in the art world, you basically go from a museum to a gallery, meaning I'm selling one work to one person. And that's why I decided that I had to find a way to do the equivalent of radio, of streaming platforms and record labels, so to say. So I created a streaming platform which is showing only films which are either art themselves or they are about art. And so So that's what I've been doing. So the story behind was really this comparison. Why is art still in this elitist box and not, popular that music?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing. I believe, Debbie, I believe are we moving on to the next speaker now?
Yep.
All right. Wando, you have.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and I'm sure everybody is excited to pick up on some ways to engage the target. And first, we have to define, I'm calling from Lagos, Nigeria. So that's where I am, and I'll kick right into it because I think everybody is well on their way and really knows what they would like to get out of this session. So next, we wanted to talk about a few things today, which is really the art and science. Some are creative ways of doing things. Erin, if you could move a little bit quicker with the slides, great. So some are creative ways to do things, which is the art. And there really is some science behind putting yourself out there, amplifying your voice. And some of them are, like I like to put out, are ingredients, meaning you mix a little bit of that, you position yourself a little bit of this way. But the idea is to ensure that each time we're deliberate, we're intentional, and that we focus a little bit of our time in the platforms and in our content and in our package that we have to offer. When we're passionate people, we sometimes do a lot of the work, but forget to capture, forget to really put together the profiles and the amplification things that we would need to put out there. So next, I'm going to go really quickly just to kind of get a few questions that we should ask ourselves. In terms of engaging content, does it differ because I have an organization? Are there types of platforms that I should use to engage on? Am I better off on social, on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, or should I have to create a website because I have this cause that I'm chasing after? The first thing is, what kind of objectives do we have? Is it fundraising? Do we need more awareness? Do we need a specific action? Is it about community building? So we have to keep thinking about these and reflecting on our actions and our objectives. That way we can always have something we can measure at the end. The second is the human element, which everybody loves, especially in Africa. We do so well with our stories. We have great stories, and most of the time it's really putting out the story first. This is the way we can push. And then our audience, why would they care? A lot of times people are like, well, I don't really feel comfortable putting my story out there. I'm not really sure, but we've seen results of people who can leverage conversations, who have ways to, even if it's as simple as a fact sheet. So when you go for meetings, when you have presentations, you have something to share. And we should lean on this, and we should borrow, and we should have all those myths demystified that we can't do those things, because all of us can. Everybody in this room has content, has a story, and can build on what they've been doing. Next slide. So I wanted to sort of have a test. How many people, if you could kind of share your social media accounts, because I know this group of people don't go on social media or feel like they don't belong on social media because they have work to do. This is not for us. The LinkedIns, the Instagrams, the Facebooks are not where we belong. We belong in the field. We have research reports. We have donor reports to fill. We have fundraising. If you could just share with the next slide, if people can tell me or write on the chat where they think of in terms of social medias that they like to follow. So in examples, and I want to push out some popular people so that you can kind of see why they've built their brand. We have Obama, we have Kim Kardashian, we have people who are voices, we have sports figures, and the reason why people follow them is that they have engaging content, they have diverse platforms that they work out, and some examples that people like to follow and engage them is because they find out that these things take time, these things are exciting, and so we have to consider that when we also put our ideas, our stories out. So I like that all of us are putting our platforms out there. We also need to reflect. What type of content am I putting on my platform? Is it exciting? Have I reflected? Did I even spend 10 minutes on putting this out? And it doesn't have to be a news article. It could be a thought. It could be thought provoking. It could be in response to what somebody else did. So we have to consider that. When I remember that we have to think of very clear and simple ways, not to make it too complicated. We need to follow some of these sites, and we need to look at them and see how we can position ourselves a little better. So these sites, the ones I just showed you, were helpful, they're popular, they align with our values, they make us laugh. Some are for social reasons, some are for just to couch and look at them. But I think it's critical that we need to think of ourselves in those positions as content producers. What types of things would we put daily? What types of weekly? Actually, Facebook's benchmarks are 2 posts a week. So the expectations are minimal, they're not high, and it's good that we allow ourselves that leverage to be able to put that. Next slide, please. So I want to sort of give you 2-3 things that you can take away. What is engaging content? What does engaging content mean in today's society? It means compelling. Simple, clear message delivered. Short. You don't have to write so much. It doesn't have to be a lot. Persuasive. What do we want this message to do? Do we want people to share? Do we want people to like? Do we want a reflection? Do we want to keep it as a note? Do we want a picture that's provoking? What do we want out of it each time? And then I always say clear and simple and short. A lot of times just saying things, giving a comment to someone is easy. A picture says a lot of things. A video might be a little bit more complicated, but it's worth the journey to explore, to see what gives you more engagement on your various platforms. Next slide. A lot of people say, go where there is no path and make your own. Sometimes with content, if you don't know where you're going, just any road will take you there. This means try, put yourself out there. Try Facebook, try WhatsApp, try website, try email. Whatever platform it is that you think this is good, it would be a good opportunity. Yeah, somebody said Alice in Wonderland. She did follow the yellow brick road, but she got where she needed to go. So I think it's important that we take that step forward to really get yourselves out there, especially with the times that are moving fast. Next slide, please. So if you want to create content, where do you go about it? I've mentioned this before. It starts with an objective. Why do you want to communicate? What does it matter? And who do you want to communicate to? Sometimes we want reporting. We want to just be able to say, I did this in the last 6 months. That's a good objective. I want to be able to share. That's a great objective. I want to be able to fundraise. I want donors to, when they look me up in my profile or when I fill out an application, they have somewhere to reference that this is real, especially in our Africa context. We want to have a track record that shows something that is relatable, and it means that the work you've been doing. And it only takes a photographer. And this is a challenge for me, and I want to challenge you. Every time we're running this campaign, Africa Forward, and we want videos, we want content, and a lot of the social entrepreneurs are having challenges because they didn't document stuff, they've never done a video, they don't have content. So we need to challenge ourselves to do better, especially within the African changing narrative stories. Next slide, please. This is a tool that we use in marketing and communications. Simon Sinek is a well-known philosopher, strategist, communication, and the best way for everybody to do what I'm asking you to do is start with the why. A lot of times we go with what do we need, meaning what platforms, how do I get on social? And some are budgetary, some are not. But if you always say why, because of the community and why we're in this race in the first place, we have some questions to answer, excuse me. And it matters. This matters because of the platforms we're going to use, the trends, the objectives. So every time we have why, we have how, and we have what. So we need to reflect on that to be able to move any communication or any content. Next slide, please. Again, we need to understand the audience. If we're talking directly in Africa, or if we're talking to the donors, are we talking to other social entrepreneurs? It might be important to really reflect and spend some time to say, who are the 2 key 3 people that we want to work on? in my communication? Who do I like to target? In marketing, we call it bullseye target. Sometimes it's really for the funders, and there's no shame in that. We just have to say, what are we using each content for? Some, like I said, are reporting, some are communication and awareness for people to know what you do, how you're doing it, the mechanics, and it's a lot of importance for us to share, to collaborate. So it's important that we have these different audiences segmented so we know what we're doing and why we're creating content for each person. Next slide. So since content is the whole point of why we're here, everything we've discussed has been about engaging content. We need to have our pitch down. We need to have our profiles very exciting and sexy. We need to have human stories. We need to have more passionate stories about our journeys, how we started, and we need to find words that are compelling with the journey that we're facing. So this is not as easy because it's really internal, and it needs to be brought out of a place of brainstorming and workshops. But I think it's worth the trial. It's worth the journey to start. So I think this is where I'm going to start having you have those sessions with your teams, with your workers, with the people that you're impacting. How can we come up with better storytelling? How can we shape the narrative? How can we put this in words? How can we develop this? And this is, next slide, this is why we're heading towards that. And so I want to ask a few questions to ask you how and what your experiences are and what the challenges you're facing.
Audio went out, Wando. Okay, so we're ready to go into the breakout rooms anyway. So what's your biggest challenges in marketing facing your social venture? Reflect a little bit about your strategies. And we're going to go into your breakout rooms now. So please go ahead and get in those breakout rooms. I'm going to open them now.
Right. Thank you, everyone. I believe we've learned, a thing or two from the 2 breakout sessions. Debbie, is it fine for me to bring someone on from my own hand to share just before Toby comes out? Yeah. So Mr. Olushola from Wikimedia, wants to share some of the challenges that he has experienced in marketing, especially with women in media. So please, Mr. Olushola, kindly take the floor.
I would like to say thank you very much for the organizers for bringing this opportunity to us. Because there's no time, I'm actually going to go very straight to the point. I'm going to start by a very short story. Sometimes 2 or 3 years ago, we've been having issue funding our projects, especially the women visibility. Then one day I tweeted, just very simple tweet, that I am frustrated. And I don't know why it is pretty difficult to sell women's visibility projects to people. Within a minute or two, I got a DM and I said, hey, do you know that the problem you have to solve is what we want to solve this year, and we have fun for it? Can we do this together? Up till now, we are still running this pretty huge project. And what that has done is, when we start talking, we get it done. So how can we support women? To support women, we need to understand where we're coming from. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. No, I think there is a slide before this.
Go back one.
No, front.
It's only front. 2 we had.
I think something has been omitted. Oh, this, yes. Yes. Before we start talking about supporting women, we need to ask ourselves, why did we get to where we are? So as someone that's been working on Wikipedia, we all know that Wikipedia is the world's largest online encyclopedia with over 2 billion viewers. it has never happened in the story of humankind. 2 billion. From the statistics we have, 17% of the profile on Wiki is about women. This is quite appalling. It shows that something is wrong. People are not writing about women. Why? Maybe we'll know in the next slide. Second, you also understand that 1 out of every, no, I'm still on this slide. I'm still on the slide, Debbie. I'm still on the slide. Please, yeah. 1 out of 10 Wikipedia editor is female. Perhaps this might be the consequence of why people don't really write about women, because we have a platform where we have more men than women. So we have more articles profile about women than men. Then also, if you look at content bias, you see that when people are trying to describe a professional on internet, it is naturally presumed that that professional should be a male. So it is a problem also about the way we perceive women, that women are likely not to be professional. They are likely to play the back role. And also the last one, the gender bias online also show that most women are being undervalued. 21% of women are being undervalued. So it means that women really need to begin to work on the data, on their data that is being pushed on internet. Let's go to the next slide. So I've been able to provide some information. Because of time, I couldn't go pretty deep into many of them, but there are certain initiatives that we have created to help to support some of this. So there's something we call the Wiki for Naija Women. We understand that many women don't want to write about themselves. Women don't want to push their content out there. Women need to be trained. So these projects, a lot of them are there to seek for women that are interested in writing about themselves, digital initiative. And two, we also use some of this project to create a mentor-mentee scenario where women that are interested in writing, most especially content creation, we have a mentor that train them and also make them to feel comfortable on some of the platforms that are available. The Visibility Project is the type that is a thematic in nature. We look at women with specific career and we deploy training that is tailor-made to their project. The Wiki Lost Women, in essence, actually look at women in Africa. There are quite a lot of them that are doing quite well, and how can we help them? So these are some of the initiatives that I have done. They tend to look for women that are interested in creating content about themselves, and also we create the scenario of mentor-mentee, and we design a contest-driven. So even after we might have trained them and we might have introduced them, if we do not aggressively bring their content on the internet, we can't achieve much. So most of those projects help also in form of content, helping women to send their content out there. So these are some of the initiatives that we have been doing or organizing to help in promoting women marketability or market on internet. I don't know if I still have time or my time have been exhausted, but I'm just trying to rush myself. Do I have time or do I have more time?
Yes, let's move on to Toby and then we'll come back to the panel discussion so you'll have more time. Go ahead, Toby. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you for having me. Good afternoon from here. I'm in Nigeria as well, Abuja, Nigeria. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be talking about collaboration and association as it relates to media visibility. I like that Wando has already touched a little bit on what I'm going to specifically be elaborating on. But when we talk about collaboration and association, I'm going to narrow it down to how can you leverage other people's visibility, their credibility, and their network to grow your own media visibility. Because at the end of the day, no man is an island. Nobody can do it alone. You need people, but you need strategies and principles that will work for you to be able to leverage somebody's visibility to grow your own visibility, leverage their credibility to grow your own credibility, even if you don't know them or you're just meeting them. This is a strategy that I'm telling you. So the first thing I'm going to mention is the joining communities. Now, for example, I heard about Catalyst 2030 from Esther Ijewere, my mentor here. I heard about Catalyst 2030 rather. I had to go and do my research. Okay, what did they do? Who are the people that are there? What is their vision? What is their mission? And you know, from there, I checked a few persons that I saw on their bios, Catalyst 2030 on LinkedIn, also on Twitter, started engaging and communicating with them. Now, there are a few opportunities beyond that. There are a few opportunities that can come through that process of just me talking to them. Now, last year, 2021, I had the opportunity to work with the African Union Youth Division. How did this opportunity come? It did not come because, oh, the African Union knew me to be one big deal in Africa. No, it came because there was an opportunity for me connecting with people online. Now, this person that mentioned or said I was, whatever it is the person mentioned, was somebody that I met via Instagram. Now, why am I saying this? The power of your personal brand to increase your visibility is so important, even if you're going to leverage another person's credibility. Wando it was very... Can we mute our mics? Thank you. Wando mentioned Obama, Kim Kardashian. I would like to add the Chimamandas and co. They have great personal brands. You will be willing to support any project that they put out. If Chimamanda comes up now and says she has a cause for 5,000 women, you will see more than 20,000 women that will come out and say, we want to join you, we want to support your cause. Why would they do that? Her personal brand has been able to stand out. So whatever it is she puts out, even if she comes today and says it is perfumes she's selling, people will buy. Why? She's able to stand out as a personal brand. She was able to build herself visibility. So don't just stand and say, oh, I want to leverage other people's visibility, but you don't want to build on yourself. Nobody wants to be associated with a nuisance. So make sure whatever cause you're pushing, whatever project it is you're running on your own as an organization or as a personal brand, make sure you're putting yourself out in the best possible way. I like when Wando was speaking, what type of content are you putting out? What kind of personal brand do you have for yourself? Because beyond your organization, you yourself, your personal brand, even if you are working for the organization, people will be attracted to that organization because of you, and that can help improve and increase the visibility that people see and hear about you. But they need to know that whatever it is they know about you is attractive enough for whatever it is you're putting out. So then again, let's move to, let's talk about leveraging the visibility of other people. Please let me know how many more minutes I have just in case. 1 more minute. Okay, great. So leveraging other people's visibility to increase your own credibility and your visibility, make sure that you're connecting with people genuinely. A lot of people, when they're connecting online, you don't connect genuinely, you connect with an ulterior motive in mind. Make sure you are either supporting or you're connecting with them. If you're engaging, you're commenting, do that genuinely. Don't just do that because you have an ulterior motive. I'm just gonna stop there and then we'll go to the panel session.
Great. So we'll go ahead and pin all the speakers on, and Esther, if you can unmute, we're ready for the panel discussion.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Toby, for that powerful session. I've learned so much today myself. And, you know, one of the beauty of what we're doing today is the fact that, you know, the visibility is what we can see right here, right? The people who have joined and every other person. So for the panel session, I'd like, because Mr. Olushola was trying to touch on something that I also feel folks, you know, would gain from. So do you want to just quickly wrap that up, Mr. Olushola, what you were trying to, you know, say the other time, so we move on?
Okay. I was trying to express or narrate a story that evolves around the need for us to push, not to be silent, the need for us to tell our story. Just like what Wando said, you make it simple. Tell the world. Quite a number of us are actually thinking, what would they?
Oh.
Sorry, I am, yeah, sorry. Hello?
Yes,
yeah.
Please
go
ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of us feel that, am I really capable in sharing this? A lot of us will begin to think about what's going to be the social media influence on the impact of what people are going to say when I share this. On this day, I was so natural. I never thought of anyone. I was within my space and I tell the world, I say, hey, we are having problems. We've been pushing this project and it's going nowhere. Can someone help? That was what I said. And within a minute, people came in and said, hey, a woman from Buckingham University and said, we can do this together. And that thing became a big project, which we are running year in, out up to now. That is the story. Make it simple.
Thank you, Mr. Olushola. Thank you so much for that. Wando, I'd like to ask you, what is one thing that stands out for you when it comes to, marketing communications, right? What is that thing that you have used personally that you can share with us today, that would really help us?
So two things. One thing is authenticity. Everybody always says it, it's cliche, but it's actually critical, especially with communication within Africa, and localization, which comes back to authenticity. We're not trying to be something we're not. This is what we have. This is the school we're trying to build. This is the people we're trying to feed. Nobody can tell you that. Nobody is here, and this is what works. We have other international organizations that use our content to be able to get funding. And for years, we don't have the right picture to get the right person to say, we have lives, we have issues, we have challenges. So we have to be the ones to tell the story. And I'm so glad like Netflix and Amazon Prime are coming into localization and understanding it. So if big brands understand this, we need to spend 10 minutes before our proposal, our management reports, to really consider a piece of what are we saying today as an organization? What am I saying as a brand? So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. And to you, Toby, I know you've spoken so much energetically. I want to ask you, in view of what you do with volunteering, right? How have you been able to give your brand visibility? How have you been able to use your passion, right, to encourage people to understand the beauty of volunteering?
All right. Let me go from what Mr. Ola said to go into how I was able to, make volunteering what it is today, especially here in Nigeria. Let's be willing to be vulnerable, in as much as you want to look guarded and you know what you're doing. He was vulnerable enough, and that's how he was able to get help and access. There was a level of vulnerability I personally had for me to get help. I mean, one of the major helps I ever got in my volunteering journey, if not the first, was from USAID Jewelry. Gave me like the major visibility I got when it comes to volunteering in Nigeria, which is still on Google, because if you search me, that was one of the major interviews that you will see. Why? Because I did not put myself and say, oh, I have it all figured out. I know what I'm doing. Oh, my team is the best. Sometimes also put yourself, let people be able to relate with your struggles. I feel like a lot of organizations don't put themselves out there in such a way that you can relate and say, okay, you are also doing what I'm doing, or I'm doing what you're doing, and I can relate to your struggle. So that's one. Secondly, just like Wando said, authenticity. There's no need copying anybody, and there's no need over-exaggerating on what you do. I have a problem with people that run organizations and over-exaggerate on their successes, their experiences, and the people they're trying to reach. Oh, we've reached 10,000 people in just 2 months of starting out. That's a lie from the pit of hell, and it's unnecessary. So what I had to do is I was authentic and I was realistic with the content and the quality of people that I was reaching out to. That was how I was able to leave it, because people could relate. Just like Wando said, authenticity is so important. People could relate. Oh, this person started with 3 volunteers, and they could see the threshold, the track record from 3 volunteers to 5 to 10. You cannot go from 1 to 100. It is not rocket science. Be realistic and be authentic to yourself. Don't rush and try to copy other people. Oh, because people are doing volunteering this way, you want to do it. I was authentic to my part. I focused on all female volunteers. My network is for all female volunteering network. That's what it is. Strictly female. I did not say, oh, I'm carrying everybody, papa, mama, everybody. No, strictly all females, ages this to this, giving them volunteering opportunities. Stay on your lane. And that was how I was able to increase my visibility. Also, connecting with people like yourself, Esther Jewere, and some other people in the industry that, leveraging on their credibility. But first, I was able to build something for myself that attracted them to say, yes, we want to support you and we want to promote the work that you're doing. So I believe you should be authentic and at some point to be vulnerable. I'm not saying, oh, just go and throw yourself out there every time. Help me or help me. No, don't do that. But make sure that your vulnerability is such that people can relate to your story, your experiences, and where you're heading to. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. That's the Nigerian fire. Permit us. It always shines through. It comes out. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, if you have questions for any of the speakers, kindly let us know in the chat. I believe we'll take those questions, right, Debbie, at the end of the session today. So thank you for having me to host this. I want to quickly just share my own story for those who didn't join from the initial stage, and that's the power of storytelling. Listen, if you want to make yourself authentic, people need to know what you're all about, right? Do not embed your story. Don't try, like Toby said, just be yourself. People would relate with you. When folks ask me, oh, Esther, how were you able to build, your social media persona? And I tell them, I'm vulnerable, yet I am very, very focused. So it means you can get the version of me today to say, listen, this is my challenge, right? And then tomorrow I'm coming back to say, oh, we've been able to solve the problem, and I'll give you context. I'll carry you along, and that's what I've been able to do with my audience. Because one thing I'm taking out of this discussion today that Wanda said is the fact that you need to know your target audience. A lot of us don't know our target audience. So if, for example, you're giving people food and you go on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is not just a place you want to post something randomly. You will have to be detailed, meaning give them links, give them facts, give them figures. These are professionals. They're not your random Facebook people and Instagram people who just want to look at your pictures and say hi and drop the comments. So that's one thing that I'll share with folks today. You can also share your story on LinkedIn, but make sure that the story you're sharing is relatable. Make sure people can identify with you. Make sure you're carrying your audience along and you're not just dumping content, because people do that. Don't just dump content. Engage with your audience, know your audience, and know your own, context and what people want to read from you always. So thank you very much. Debbie, what is next on the agenda?
Yeah, so we'll close up with a couple of slides if you want to share, because Udwak was not able to join us today.
Okay.
So if you can announce that.
Okay, right. So we have another session coming up. For those who want to join, let's take this as a continuation of this session today. Kindly join Udwak on the 20th of September for another powerful session. I will be there, and I believe some of our panelists today, will be there as well to share from their wealth of experience. The link has been shared in the chat. Kindly copy it and register. Of course, we see you there on the 20th of September. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
And we do have 3 more minutes. We did amazing. So there is a survey for you to fill. We'll put that in the chat. But any questions that you have, Sanjay, you want to unmute and share what you said in the chat about the consultancy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that 2 years back, I got an email from a company from UK, consultancy company, who was looking for a local consultant in Mauritius. And they found me on LinkedIn, and I never knew that they could reach me on LinkedIn. So they sent me and asked me whether I was interested? And I said yes. And I got a freelance consultancy from them. So I was thinking maybe sometimes there are funders, there are international organizations who are looking for collaboration or impact in Africa, and they are trying to headhunt, so maybe having a good LinkedIn page can help in that. So maybe if anyone has any kind of experience, I had it more in the business field. So if you had it in the kind of social sector, that will be interesting.
Thank you.
That's it, Debbie.
Great. Thank you for that. Debbie, thank you so much. Can we quickly take, just a final word from all the speakers today, if that's fine, Debbie?
Sure.
Yep. Please, Wando, you may go first.
Open your LinkedIn page today and write about this experience, share, and try to collaborate more with everybody here.
Toby, just final word, very quickly.
All right, so my final words would just be, there are principles and strategies that, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Go on.
Okay, great. There are principles and strategies for media visibility that works for everybody, but your experience will be peculiar to you. So don't overlook your experience, but there are principles that work for everybody. Look out for those.
Thank you. And Mr. Olushola,
my parting shot. This is from me to everyone. Look for the right platform that can truly sell your story. Not all platforms are designed for your story. So look for the right one. Well, don't be too vulnerable, but be real to the truth and tell your story. Be bold. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we've come to the end of the session today. Thank you, Catalyst 2030, for the opportunity to host this amazing session. And to all the speakers, I truly appreciate your time today. And for everyone who joined all over the world, thank you so much. We are so happy to have this amazing number today. Please don't forget to join the next session on September 20th with Uduak. I am going to be there, and I believe, I'll see some of these beautiful faces. Have a good one, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Wonderful job.
Thank you.